So do you have any frameworks that would help me understand how to lead a large group of people from here to way over there to a very radically different future? I am so glad you asked. Hi, it's David with another entry into the leadership library for you, that person who sees a very different, better future that you want to create, and you know you're going to need the support and engagement of a lot of people to bring that to life. One of my favorite questions that I get from clients is something like that. We want to go from here way over there to way over there, and it's going to be complicated because there are a lot of people and systems and history and even success that we've had that are going to make it more difficult. What do you got? Well, what I'd like to share with you is just a simple way I like to frame things, which honestly has almost nothing to do with your business. It's how people react to radical change, regardless of what business you're in or what type of people you're working with. And the goal is to help point you towards developing your own influencing strategy. I'll give you information that will head you in that direction. Just like you need a business strategy if you want to transform the outcomes of your business results, the same thing is true. You need to create an influencing strategy to move the people when you're taking them from here way over there. So let me just start to build this out for you so that you can start to see, probably with fresh eyes, some places that you can understand better, which will then set you up to take more productive and effective action. So first, let's just understand the terrain. Again, this is going to happen when you introduce any big change. If it's a small change, probably this will be less accurate. I'm talking about making a radical change that you want to lead a large group of people through. How are they going to react regardless of the business you're in, regardless of the topic? It has more to do with how different it is than the current state. Now understand, as soon as you introduce this, people are going to put things through their own pre-existing filters. And some people, they're going to hear it as a story. Either you're going to tell a story about the future that you want to build, or if you don't tell a story, they're going to have to absorb it as a story. So they will, if it doesn't fit into a story that pre-exists, they're going to make up a story. And that's how it's going to land with them, and that's what's going to dictate their reaction. So story lies beneath almost all of this. The stories that you're telling, how well they connect to the story that you're telling, and if not, then the story that they tell themselves to make sense of it. And so one of the things that you'll be doing throughout is also using story to make the changes to help people move forward. And so everything that we're talking about will have story to undergird it. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but I just want you to understand this is a lot about the stories that we tell ourselves, or if you can tell a better story, they'll accept yours. So when that happens, there are going to be some people who take your story in and say, this does not compute, this does not register with my values or how I make sense of the world, and they'll be the ones who fall on what generally psychology would refer to as the threat mindset. Those are the ones I've marked in red. There are other people who will either grasp it at some level, like, yes, this makes some level of sense to me, or I want this, and they're going to fall over here in more of the challenge mindset. There's another video about that I've already shot. If you want to go more in depth about that, watch this video, and it will help you give back some background on what's the difference between the threat mindset and the challenge mindset, the two common mindsets that people experience when they feel change or things like that. So when that happens, let's just go from this end to this end. The majority, first of all, if it's a radical change, the majority of people are going to fall on the threat mindset, at least initially. It's just predictable. It doesn't mean your idea is bad. It's just that's how people react when they hear big change. Now, not all of them are totally against it, and I'm going to break that down for you, but I just wanted you to recognize this: the people on this side who are saying yes or hell yes, are not enough people probably for you to build the outcome, the radical outcome, that the very different future that you want to build. So you're going to need some of the people that are over here to come along with you. And so how do you approach each of them? Well, we'll talk about approach in a second. Let me just describe them. First, you're going to have some people who will go straight to high threat. Okay, these people, they're wanting to actually stop you. I had a client one time who did something like this one in a change project that I helped them lead, massive change project. And some people literally walked up to this client and said, you are trying to give away the store, and it is my job to make sure you fail. Now, they were trying to save the company. Fortunately, the change happened, and it was incredibly successful for the company, but this person's initial reaction was in high threat, full resistance. Then you'll have some people who, so it's not just all threat or challenge. There's different grades of it. So, moderate threat, these are people who are more hesitant. They're not resistant, but they're just not quite sure, and so they're driven more by threat mindset than anything, and so they're going to be hesitant. Then you have some people who are in low threat. They're not in, but it's not because they're against it. It's more because they're confused. They don't have enough information. It doesn't totally make sense. The story you told doesn't jive with them, but they're not running to full threat, and they're also, because of that, they're going to be cautious. Now you have, this is sort of an artificial line I draw. All of these are artificial. You don't know exactly where it is. It's going to depend on each group of people, but you can generally predict these things. And then you have, once you get into the challenge mindset, there's people who are in low challenge mindset. They're not all in, but they're curious. They're no longer confused. They're like, tell me more. I think I like this. Then there are some people who are going to be in the moderate challenge camp. They're interested. You've got their attention and they want to know more. They're leaning in. And then you have people who are in the high challenge camp. They are, jumping up and down, super excited about this. They're enthusiastic, and some of them, when you get really in the extreme, can even become zealous, bordering on overzealous. So you're going to want to build your influencing strategy. You're going to want to understand where people are, perhaps why, which we'll get to in a minute, and then how do you approach them? So this next segment is, now that you understand this map and sort of the layout that you can predict when people experience or when they hear about radical change, how do you approach each one in a really simple way so that you can start to build this influencing strategy by group, by person, whatever it looks like. So now that we know how people are distributed, how all people in general are going to react to a big idea of change, let's talk about how you can approach these various groups that fell into different camps based on the way they filtered the information that you gave them, based on their history, their experience, their point of view. And how will you approach each one of those? In general, it's going to look like this. From the high threat to the high challenge, you're going to start with listening is what's going to help you. Your goal here is they're driven by fear, which is dictated by a particular part of our brain called the amygdala. And one of the greatest ways to calm an amygdala is to show it that you're safe, that you are trustworthy, and that you are not some foreigner from the outside who's here to threaten you with whatever your new idea is, to threaten them, but you actually care and you want to understand. So listening is what's going to help you there. It's also going to help you gather a lot of information to help you understand, first of all, why legitimately do they feel like this is a threat? They probably see things that you can't see, and if you don't listen to them, this is one thing that happens is people are like, oh, these people are resistant, and because they're driven by fear, they have not a great way of expressing their concern, and so we dismiss them. We want to cut them off. But actually, these are the people who hold the secret keys that if you don't listen to them, you're going to find out too late that they knew what was going to blow up because they had some unique perspective. Maybe they are deep in the bowels of the operation, or they have a lot of history, or they just have a very unique point of view that always sees the threats first. They're the canary in the coal mine. You need to listen to them. So it's not about cutting them off, it's about listening. And that's also the best way to calm their amygdala so that they can maybe begin to participate and move in this direction with you. From listening, we go to offering proof. Here, as people get into the confused area, the emotional drive, the fear, is greater than or equal to their rational mind at this moment. But as they go further and further here, it's not that there's no more enthusiasm or emotion, but they're able to they're able to hear rational things. So here it's more about listening. Here it's offering some proof, usually in the form of stories that, hey, what's worked before? Things like that. Because that will sink in even through the fear, especially if it's not super high fear. Then once they get into the low challenge area, let them participate. Let them see for themselves, test, kick the tires, and probably give them actions, here lower level actions or simpler actions that are not going to overwhelm them to start to produce proof for themselves from experience. Hey, this works. I identify with this. This relates. I want to create this. And then over here, it's more about guidance. You have people who are on board, but you want to direct that enthusiasm and their ideas so that they're actually headed in the right direction. Sometimes, especially when they're in that zealous place, they can cause damage. The other thing you'll find is this group of people, some of the people that fell into this camp fell here just because whenever there's change, they're the people that are always out on front like, yes, I just love change in general. And what they may find is They might get bored with the change once it's no longer new, or once they just reacted yes because you said it's new and change, but once they actually got into it, they realize, oh, I don't like that, I don't want that, and so they'll move back in this direction. So that's why it's about guidance, and I'll talk more in detail about each one, but that's the general flow that you're going to want to go in as you start to think about how do I engage with each of these groups of people. First, who falls where, specific people, specific groups. Who falls where, and then how do I want to approach them? So the approach here is about listening for the issues and to understand. Again, to calm that amygdala, but understand, listen for the issues because they're going to point out, they're the canary in the coal mine. They're going to point out what you've missed that will kill this if you don't engage them. It's not about cutting them out. Some people may fall away. That always will happen during change. Some people decide to take another path or not go with you. But many of them can come with you if you just prove to them, hey, I'm paying attention to that thing. We're going to take care of that. Next is when they're in moderate threat, when they're feeling hesitant. Again, continue to listen, try to understand. Just like these people, they may see some things that you're missing. But also now you can start to ask them for help, especially as they start to come along and they're thawing a bit. They're more open to it. These are the best people to help you bring these people along because these people have talked to each other. The last person that's going to help you here with these folks is the folks over here because they're speaking completely different languages. They're in completely different mental and emotional states. And so these people will be the last people you want to try and convince these folks. But these folks are close enough. As they start to come on board, hey, can you help us bring these folks along or at least help us understand them better? This group, the low threat people who are mostly confused and cautious, again, listen to them, of course, but you can start to provide them information best in the form of stories and to help fill in the blanks of, I'm confused and therefore cautious. How can you help me understand this better with your stories? And as they come along, then again, ask them for help with these folks and these folks. So hopefully you see this cascade. And again, we started with listening and now we're offering some proof. Next, we go into the people who are just starting to lean in the challenge mindset. They're curious. So with them, invite some simple action. Not, hey, join us, become one of our biggest champions here, but invite some simple action because through action is often how we change our sense of self and our attitude. Invite them to experiment. It's just low-level actions, hey, short-term things, small, low-risk things, to give this a try, to tell us what you think. And share your experience. Hopefully they'll come along with you. If not, you're going to have information that can help you listen and coax them along or coach them along. The people who are in moderate challenge and are interested, ask them to help you. Make them a part of the team. Ask for some help, not full on, but hey, could you give us a hand with this? Give us your experience. And then basically invite them to begin to participate in a more full way. And keep in mind that hopefully, if you're successful, you've got people moving generally in this direction. So as they come from here to here, now you can ask them for help. From here to here, you can invite them to experiment. From here to here, you can ask them, hey, would you actually like to participate? And then from here, these people who are the really high challenge, who are enthusiastic, maybe zealous, it's a lot about guiding them, okay? They're going to be very productive, but they haven't probably been working on this for nearly as long or thinking about this nearly as long as you have. So they are engaged, they want to be a part of it, but they need your guidance, they need your coaching to focus in the right places, to apply at the right level. So not everything's a 10, so that they can start to make progress. Educate them. Especially for the people who got there because this is change and it was less about what the change was, it's just the fact that it was big change. Educate them. And then also sometimes you'll have to direct them, especially for the ones who are overzealous. Honestly, keep these folks away from these folks as much as you can because they will not help you. These people will actually probably move further in that direction if these people approach them because their approach is going to be, how can you not see this? Are you stupid? Come on, get on board. And that usually does not make these people feel great. So again, we just went from listening to proof to action to guidance. As you begin to understand where people fall and what their mental, emotional, rational state is, you can understand then how to approach each one. Then you can start to build this influencing strategy. With my clients, I've gone as specific as identifying key points of influence that if you don't have them, they will stop the process. the process will not go forward. And other people who are, they may never get on board, but they can stop us, they can block us. And so there's an influencing strategy for those people as well. But this framework can help you think about it, both from where are they and then what approach can we take with them, so that, as we said at the beginning, I want to move a whole bunch of people from here to way over there. And I know it's difficult. Now you at least start to see a map. You're going to need to take this down into more granular levels of tactics to get this into action. But I hope this framing helps you get a start and feel some confidence and create a team that can help you do this with you. All right, I can't wait. I really, really can't wait to hear how you use this, what questions you have. And until then, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.